Okay, so this is the witch's point of view. The old woman watches the boy lead Celine away. She chuckles to herself. She can see Celine, but Celine can't see her no more. The boy will take her down the hill to the farm. They'll keep her there until she dies, which won't be long, a few days, a week maybe. It's what happens when they go back to their time. Makes no difference to Auntie. She's got herself a new girl now. Trouble is, the girl ain't quite up to the work. You'd think she never tended a fire, or swept a floor, or cooked a meal, or scrubbed a pot. She acts like she's never seen a wash tub. She don't know how to make soap or candles or sew a seam. Out in the garden, she pulls up more vegetables than weeds. She can't tell an onion from a beet. She's scared of spiders and anything else that crawls on the floor or scurries around walls or hides in the firewood. What can Auntie do with such a stupid, lazy girl but scold her and beat her and shut her up in the hidey hole under the cabin floor? When she can't stand it no longer, Auntie brings in Bloody Bones and tells the girl he eats bad children like her. The girl cries and shakes with fear at the sight of Auntie's dear boy. He rears up over her, taller than most men. Why, his head bumps the ceiling. He clacks his teeth and rattles his bones. He makes the girl look into the dark eye holes in his skull, which is like looking into a bottomless hole, blacker than the blackest night. The girl curls up into a ball like a baby that don't want to be birthed. After Auntie sends her dear boy outside, the girl tells the old woman she's doing her best, but that ain't good enough, is it? She cries and promises to do better, but she keeps on dropping things and spilling things and breaking things like that's all she's good for. What Auntie needs is a servant who does everything she's told and never gets tired or needs to be fed. She'd give just about anything to have herself one of them. She reminds herself she's had the girl for only a few days. Maybe she'll catch on if Auntie beats her harder and locks her up in the hidey hole more often and threatens to give her to Bloody Bones for his supper. In the meantime, she better not catch that boy snooping around the cabin again, or that pitiful Celine either. Chapter 12. When we came inside of the house, the girl stopped for a moment and stared at it. "Does it look familiar?" I asked. "Have you ever seen it?" She shook her head. "I never seen a house that big before. Rich people must live there." "It's where I live," I told her, "but we're not rich." She pointed at the junk in the field, which was easier to see now that the cold weather had stripped the leaves away. "Look at all the stuff your people threw away. Only rich people would throw out so many good things." As we drew near the house, the back door flew open and Mom ran towards us. "Erica," she cried, "thank God you're home. Where have you—" She stopped a foot away and dropped her outstretched arms. "Who are you?" she asked. "Where did you get my daughter's clothes? And her doll?" Lunging at the girl, Mom grabbed little Erica out of her arms and clasped the doll to her chest. She looked as if she was about to collapse from disappointment. The girl reached for little Erica. "She's mine! Auntie gave her to me." Ignoring the girl, Mom turned to me. "What's the meaning of this? Why have you brought her here? How did she get your sister's things?" Her voice rose with every question, as if she thought I'd played a cruel trick on her. "She was hiding in the old cabin where Dad took pictures last month," I told Mom. "She says her aunt gave her the clothes and the doll and told her to leave. She was finished with her." "Oh, no, no, no." Still hugging the doll, Mom sank down on the porch steps. "Erica," she cried, "Erica." She put her hands on her knees and sobbed. "Please," I held the little girl's cold hands. "If you know anything, please tell me." She darted an ugly look at my mother. "She's got to give my dolly back. Auntie gave her to me. She's mine." Just then the kitchen door opened and a woman stuck her head out, a stranger. "Oh, thank goodness," she said. "You found her." Mom ran past the woman and disappeared in the house inside, holding the doll and crying. I heard her pound up the back stairs to her room. The woman stood in the doorway, puzzled. "That's not Erica?" she asked. I shook my head. "I found her hiding in the old cabin up the trail. She's wearing Erica's clothes, but—" The woman came down the steps and looked closely at the girl. "What's your name, honey? Where do you live?" "I'm Girl. I live up yonder with Auntie." She pointed toward the trail that led to the cabin. "Only she don't need me no more. She said so herself. She give me these clothes and told me to go home, but the onlyest home I got is with Auntie." She began to cry again, washing more streaks of dirt down her face. The woman knelt in front of the girl and cupped her face in her hands. "It can't be," she whispered. "God's love, it can't be." "What can't be, ma'am?" Girl peered at the woman, her face creased in worry. "Never you mind. It's just my mind wandering." The woman got to her feet and said to me, "You must be Daniel. I'm Mrs. O'Neill. I believe you've already met my husband." Taking the girl's hand, Mrs. O'Neill said, "Let's take this poor child inside and give her something nice to eat. Hot soup, maybe? She looks cold and hungry." Mrs. O'Neill led the girl into the kitchen and settled her at the table. While she opened a can of chicken soup with rice and poured it into a pot, the girl looked around. "My goodness," she said, You told me you ain't rich, but look at the things you got. Nothing's broke or busted. It's all clean and new and shiny. Well, how could I tell her that Mom complained about the old-fashioned gas stove she had to light with a match, and the refrigerator she had to defrost, and the ugly white metal cabinet she hated, and the dripping faucets and the black and white squares of cracked linoleum covering the floor? Mrs. O'Neill made toast and poured 2 bowls of soup, one for the girl and one for me. Then she sat down with us and studied the girl. The girl's manners were terrible. She slurped and slopped the soup, holding the bowl with one hand as if she thought I might take it from her. She stuffed the toast into her mouth and almost choked. It was like eating at the table with your dog or something. When the girl was finished, she wiped her mouth with the back of her hand and blew her nose on the napkin. Mrs. O'Neill stroked her tangled hair. How would you like a nice hot bath? The girl frowned. I don't much care for baths. Let's go upstairs. When you see the tub, you might change your mind. Mrs. O'Neill led the amazingly docile girl up the back stairs.
Can I take y'all's picture?
Yeah.